Alright, we're just gonna do it. Hey everyone, it's me again, Brittany. Welcome back to my channel. Obviously by the title you can probably already tell what this is, but it is my very long-awaited Tower of Dawn mini talk accompanied by my Kingdom of Ash theories talk. Today is officially the day that Kingdom of Ash came out. This video was supposed to be going up much earlier in the day, and I did try to film it earlier when there was actual real light instead of this pretty awful fake lights. But my camera battery died, and unfortunately there was a lot of things that I had to do with the day, and I couldn't just wait for it to recharge for me to be able to film after that. And so we had to do this, and I'm filming at nighttime, which you guys know I hate to do, mostly because I don't have like ring lights. So I look like this, like very washed out and kind of yellow. So that's fine. We're gonna do it anyways because I need to have this video up by today. I want to have my Kingdom of Ash theories up by today. I have not gotten my copy yet, unfortunately, even though I pre-ordered it a really long time ago. Barnes & Noble sent it out yesterday, and the shipping says it won't be here until Thursday, which is so upsetting, but whatever, it's fine, I'll be fine, I know I will, but like, I didn't do a Halloween costume for this. I kind of just wanted to embody what Tower of Dawn sort of has going on in it. I did some kohl eyeliner because people on the southern continent use kohl around their eyes, and I braided back my hair because the Ruck Riders braid their hair, and I kind of went for, like, you can't tell because of all the weird lights, but there's a very glowy kind of natural skin thing going on because I just really wanted to also embody the healers, and I feel like light is the best way to do that. So yeah. Anyways, so I haven't watched any other Kingdom of Ash theories videos. I haven't seen any spoilers yet, thank God, and I'm just really excited to do this. I have a lot of thoughts actually on Tower of Dawn. I'm going to try to keep it really concise because I don't want this video to be a million years long, and I think it's way more about my Kingdom of Ash theories than it is about my Tower of Dawn review, since I technically already have a Tower of Dawn book talk up on my channel. I'll link it if you want to watch it, but it's really bad. It's like not good at all. I highly don't recommend it, but like whatever. If you want like a very thorough summary of the book, you should go see it. I'm going to leave a timestamp down below for the parts of the videos if you want to watch. So if you want to go straight into the Kingdom of Ash theories, I'll leave that down below and you can click on it. First things first, Tower of Dawn. This first section is going to be spoiler free, while I will give you a warning when I jump into the spoilery bits. Just as a warning, this entire video is going to be a mild spoiler. This is the second to last book in a very large series, so I'm going to do my best to not spoil you, but if you haven't read any of it, I don't recommend watching this video, honestly. Maybe go back to my first ones, something like that. But if you don't care, keep watching. Alright, so I gave this 5 out of 5 stars. I actually loved this so much more in this reread than I ever did in my first one, which is so crazy. I don't know why, but I felt a lot of empathy for Chaol in this one, and I actually was able to just understand where he was coming from. I don't know, I definitely changed a lot of my perspectives on it. So, just as a little summary, this book is right after the events of Queen of Shadows. We're following Chaol and Nesryn on a journey to the southern continent. It's gonna be an adventure for them. So it also takes place during Empire of Storms, so a really cool part of this book was that we get to kind of watch the things that we've already seen unfold in Empire of Storms happen over here and see what they think about them. It was just a really neat experience to kind of see the events that happen in Empire of Storms through these people's eyes, and it was just so nice to kind of know what's gonna happen and root for it and wonder how it's gonna affect everything, because there are lots of games in this book. Probably the coolest thing about it is that we get to visit a whole different continent. Even though in the previous books we have visited a lot of different places, they've all been in the northern continent and therefore kind of have been under Adarlan's rule. So we've never really gotten to see different cultures and different ways of ruling, and in this one it's just so fantastically done. We follow the Kagan and his family, and their style of leadership is just so completely different than Adarlan. Not only do they hold their royals accountable, they hold their people accountable, they have set rules in place to not treat people like slaves. Their servants are treated like people, they're given options and choices, and it's just, they defend their people and they give their people the best life they can, which is which creates an economically thriving place, honestly, and a lot of technological advances have been made that haven't been made in Adarlan, and it was just really nice to see them all kind of combine. It's also really cool to see the family dynamics in this book because the Kagan and his children are just so different than what you'd expect from a royal family. Their morals are a lot more loose, their tongues are a lot more loose, they're conniving, they're just awful because in this world, the heir isn't the firstborn to the Kagan. It is whoever deserves it the most. And in previous generations, they have been known to have to kill each other to become the heir. So you kind of like have this idea that the siblings can't love each other because eventually one day they're gonna have to kill each other and kill any children that their siblings may have had that could one day test them for the throne. It was just such a different point of view of the world, and it was so cool to learn about. And it was really cool, especially because the Kagan, he lets people worship however they please, and overall, it just made for a very peaceful empire, and I really feel like Aelin and Dorian can learn a lot from this. So there's that. We get to know the characters that are definitely going to become more major players in Kingdom of Ash, and we just learn a lot about them, and I think it's so important to read Tower of Dawn. I know a lot of people were on the fence about this because you guys hated Chaol just as much as I did, and I don't know why I don't hate Chaol anymore, but I actually kind of really like him. I don't know what happened, but not only do you get to kind of just feel empathy for Chaol and all these people that you're gonna start to know better, but it also has so many important plot twists and plot points that are so most definitely going to come into play in Kingdom of Ash. I'm not exaggerating when I say like this is probably one of the most important books to read in the whole series. It's just insane. The things that you learn. I think that the first 300 or so pages are kind of slow, which is to be expected because you're learning a lot about this new world. I love the character development in this. This is more of a character-driven story than plot-driven. There are really cool plot points in it, but it's just not plot-driven in my opinion. So be warned of that, but I just feel like you get to love a lot of the characters that you may have otherwise not. So let's jump into the spoiler section, and goodbye non-spoiler people, I will see you later. So the first things that I really wanted to touch on were the relationships that happen in this book. I think that those are the most focused on parts of the books in all reality. First and foremost being Chaol and Nesryn. Their relationship was doomed from the start. Like, let's be honest, they never actually got to know each other. They were both kind of using each other to feel better in a very dire situation. Adarlan was never good to either of them. Chaol was in such a dark place and he needed someone that was gonna help him out. And Nesryn, she'd never had a really good time on the streets of Adarlan, so she was always looking for pleasure and fun and adventure. And even though they knew that they liked each other, that they respected each other, they didn't understand each other. They were very different people at the end, and it wasn't enough to save them, especially when Chaol is injured. Like, his worst sides of him are coming out at that point, and Nesryn doesn't know how to deal with it, and she doesn't know that she doesn't know how to deal with it. She's a huge mother hen, and she keeps trying to, like, help Chaol with everything, push him around, and Chaol has a lot of pride. Like, his pride is his #1 downfall, and he definitely doesn't want any help from anyone, and she just couldn't see that, and they just never saw eye to eye, and it was doomed. It was completely doomed from the start, and I think they both knew it, but neither of them wanted to admit it. I was kind of frustrated that they didn't just cut off the relationship earlier on, and obviously this wasn't all Nesryn's fault. This was definitely also Chaol's fault. Like, he didn't put in the work needed to be with Nesryn. Like, he just kind of accepted her as being there and then never did anything else about it. Granted, he was kind of busy dealing with his whole, like, I don't have legs right now. I mean, he didn't even make the effort to go and visit Nesryn's family, and granted, we know that he was making a lot of progress and that if he had kind of stopped making progress, he probably would have been upset with himself, but he definitely could have set aside the time to go meet her family, which he obviously saw was very important. So they didn't see eye to eye and they weren't good for each other, so I'm glad that that wasn't the relationship that we ended up getting. I never liked Chaol and Nesryn together, ever, but yeah. Next, let's talk about Chaol and Yrene, because their relationship is the one I have the least to say about, honestly. Like, I do think that they're good for each other. I think that they really help each other through the scars that they both had. I like that Chaol kind of stops being such a dick because he's able to be like a better person around Yrene, which is really nice, and that's sort of all I really have to say about it. I really think that their love just started from the place that they both intrinsically understood each other. Like, she knew that he didn't want any help. She automatically saw how prideful he was, and that if she stepped in to help him, he would never forgive her. So she automatically knew not to do that, and she also was able to see his patience and determination in his own body, and she kind of started to fall for that because she thought that he was going to be this really awful, cruel person. So they just automatically understood each other, and that's kind of why I think the relationship works. Other than that, I don't have a lot to comment on. Yes, it's cute. I guess it's okay that they got married in the end. I mean, you're gonna be with each other forever because of that back brace anyway, so why not just marry each other? Still kind of seemed a little weird to me, but whatever. Lastly, Sartaq and Nesryn. They are the apple of my eye in this entire story. I just think it's just so pure because Nesryn is such a good person. Like, she is so loyal and fantastic, and even in Queen of Shadows, when Celaena first meets her, she already really likes her. Sorry, when Aelin first meets her, she already really likes her, and they're just like, Nesryn's a good person, and she deserves someone that is gonna look at her like she is the best thing in this entire world, and Sartaq, he does that for her. I just love that he knew about her, like his spies had been telling him about her, and he knew he loved her from the moment his spies talked about her, from the moment that they talked about this, is it Balruni woman who could shoot an arrow like no one else, and that was, I just really like it because he was already so infatuated with her, and he was so sure of it and so hopeful of the relationship because he never made it seem like he expected anything. He just hoped, because when he asked her to go to the Ruckin with him, and when they arrived there and he's like, yeah, I let them know a day before you said yes that you'd be coming with me, and he's like, so I'm really glad you came because they would have given me a lot of shit for it, which I thought was hilarious and so sweet. And then his confession to her with the Karam Kui, I like that whole section, just made my heart melt when he's just looking at her and he's like, I've loved you since before I laid my eyes on you, and he goes, I wish we had more time. When I thought he was dying the first time I read that, I was like in tears because that's so not fair. But luckily it all worked out. The last thing that I kind of have to mention about it is that it's no coincidence, it cannot be a coincidence that her mother called her Windseeker, and when they went to the Ruckin, like that place was called Windhaven, like Windseeker, Windhaven, like she was, like it's her haven, and she's been seeking it her entire life, and I loved it so much. I loved it so much. Next up is Chaol's healing that I kind of wanted to touch on. The main thing being that I really felt like Tower of Dawn was Chaol's Heir of Fire, if that makes any sense, because they both, so Celaena and Chaol both start off those stories just completely broken. They're in such a dark place. They don't know how to crawl out of it. They don't think they're ever going to crawl out of it, and they don't expect to, honestly. And throughout the story, you just see them slowly start to become more themselves and kind of push past this past that had been holding on to them, until finally in the end you have that moment where they have to confront their demons and confront their past and realize that all this anger and guilt that they'd both been feeling was just not relevant anymore, and that to keep living, which because it was worth it to live, they have to push past it. I also really like, because I think there's a part where Chaol says, he asks Celaena, he's like, what if you get to the end and it's still awful and everything's bad? And then Aelin answers, then it's not the end. And that's kind of when he realizes like this is not his end, and he like breaks past it and is able to push past his past. And I really enjoy that the mental thing was a bigger deal than his physical injury. Like him having to push past his mental pain was the thing that Yrene emphasized the most. Like if he doesn't ever get past that, then he can never really gain full control of his body. I thought that was a very literal way of like mental illness actually affecting your body. Of kind of like explaining it. I'm not sure if I completely like that Sarah J. Maas made it so literal. There are cases where your mental illness does actually affect your body. It's called like somatization, but I just felt like this was a little different than that, and like it's actually going to come into play a lot more. Like Yrene was like, I had one myself, and like it's a demon, but like yours was a demon before that, and I was just like, that's kind of a little weird way of describing mental illness, but like, okay, whatever, I'm here for it. I also like that, okay, originally the first time that I read it, I was kind of pissed that Chaol went through all that healing just to have his spine broken again. I was like, what was the point? But there was a point, because Chaol had to like be back in his body and realize that like his body isn't what made him a man, it was his own soul that made him a man. And so when he can't really walk again, like when he has to rely on a magical brace and he doesn't care, he realizes that like it doesn't matter if he's standing on the battlefield or on a horse in the battlefield, like anything that he can do, he will do. And I think that that's also like a very important point, like for Sarah J Maas to have made, like a handicap is only a handicap if you make it so. And I like that. I'm sure that there's handicapped people that read this and probably were hurt that like he was able to find this healing and that he healed his body and that's how his mind got healed. Like that's not how it is. You need to accept yourself and heal your mind, and that's what's gonna work in the end. And I think that it was just important that like he still had the handicap in the end, because it's not a handicap, because he no longer felt like it was a handicap. And yeah, I don't know if I got my point across on that, but I just think it was kind of important. Back to kind of like his healing thing, I really like that the last like dregs of his like black soul, is how I'm thinking of it, dissipated once he found out that it was Celaena that gave Yrene the money for the passage to the southern continent. Like that scene is what you're waiting for the entire book. You are reading the entire book waiting for her to actually show him the note and for him to recognize Celaena's handwriting. And I just think that it was very nice, because like even though he'd forgiven Celaena, he'd forgiven Aelin, he understood like where she'd been coming from, like I don't think until that moment he really realized just like that Aelin could be good. Like that, yeah, she's an assassin, but she's an assassin with a heart and soul, and she recognizes that even though she's not ever going to be the person that heals people, like she wanted to help another woman that definitely was going to be that person that heals people. And I think that that's just so important, because it just shows another side of Aelin, and it makes it even more heartbreaking that they're right now sailing to go find her, and they're not going to frickin' find her because she's in the coffin, but that's a whole other story. I kind of want to talk about like game changers, I feel like in this book, the game changers that happened. The first one being, I'm gonna go from like least important to like most important, but the first one is Falcon. I loved meeting Falcon because right away we kind of like can guess that he was the merchant in the Red Desert that Celaena had met in the Assassin's Blade novellas. He had given her that spider silk that she'd sewn into Sam's suit, and he was like, one day you'll come back. And we get to see him after that, where he realizes that fortune wasn't everything and he shouldn't have sold his youth for it. I also thought it was kind of interesting that his shapeshifter powers appeared so much later than Lysandra's. Like that just proves how powerful Lysandra was from the get-go, because she was able to do it from what, like the age of 4, younger, I don't even know. But he's like, oh yeah, I never even knew that I had the gift. I thought that was just like my brother and my dad's kind of thing. Like I guess I just hadn't reached maturity yet. But he'd been what, 7 years older than Lysandra when magic went down, and he still didn't have it. So I think that that's kind of interesting, just to show just how much more powerful Lysandra is, and I like that. I also really love that in the end we find out that someone has been looking for Lysandra, that there is family out there for her that cares for her, and he's like, I want to give her my entire fortune. Like when he's about to die, he's like, we have to find, like if you find her, like tell her everything was for her, that I've been looking for her. And I was like, like Lysandra needs that. She definitely needs that, because she has not had enough. So, okay, I was really confused about this for most of the book, and then it kind of like started to clear up for me, because it's when the Rutkin are talking about how the Fae had made towers, that the Fae had come there and they had taught the Rutkin how to kill these Kairankui, which are the Stygian spiders. And I was so confused at first, because I was like, why would Maeve let her Fae warriors go over there and teach them how to kill these spiders when they are her spiders? I was like, that doesn't make any sense. Like, why would she want to kill her spiders? You'd think that she'd want them on her side. But it made sense later on when we realized that there were Fae that actually left Doranel. Like, in secret, they left Doranel to go to a different continent so that there would be a fighting chance for the rest of the world against the Valg if they ever came back. And I think that's the little sect of fae that actually taught the Ruckin how to kill the Karanqui. So that was a whole other thing. I also really like, okay, I think it's about time to talk about the biggest reveal of the story, and it's the Karanqui's story. Like, first of all, that they're Valg. That was already kind of like a shocker, because it kind of makes sense, because it doesn't make, like, their powers just don't make sense. Like, they steal years off your life, they steal your dreams, they steal your beauty, they, like, just their powers are very odd. So it makes sense that they're Valg, but that they are the handmaidens to her Dark Majesty. And her Dark Majesty is Maeve. And Maeve has been tricking everyone all along. Like, that was just such a shocker the first time I read it. And I'm still, like, when I was rereading the series, I was, like, looking into that so thoroughly. And it just makes so much sense. Like, and it makes you wonder, like, I know that Erewhon and his brothers had originally found these word keys so that they could eventually find Maeve. But, like, now at this point, are they still looking for Maeve? Like, in this new war, is Erewhon still focused on Maeve? It's just, I think he's just focused on taking over the world at this point, right? I also thought it was just so important when we find out that Athril had been actually worshipping Silba the entire time, and that Silba was the one that made Athril the ring, which means that Silba, she's a god that loved a human, just like how Mala loved Brandon. So that's kind of interesting to me, I think. And yeah, alright, I think those are like the main points of Tower of Dawn that I really wanted to get to. Please let me know any other thoughts that you had during Tower of Dawn. Honestly, I really loved this, and it's definitely become like one of my new favorites in the series, and that's just so weird to think about because I hated Chaol for so long. But it's not even just about him, it's about everyone else, really. It's like, it's about Hazar and how I think she's gonna make perfect friends with Aelin and Manon, and it's about Kashin and how I think he's so similar to how Chaol was, and he's like a mix of Chaol and Dorian, honestly, and I think that they'd make good friends, and it's just about, it's about them all. Like, I have so much respect for them, like, Nesryn, I love Nesryn. And I love that she's gonna, like, be an empress, basically. Like, I want them to survive this war so bad. Because, like, if they don't, my heart is shattered. But whatever, that's another story. So let's jump into my Kingdom of Ash theories. I'm so excited for this. I can't believe it's actually here. I haven't gotten a copy yet, obviously, but, like, I can't believe it's actually happening, so these are mostly going to be theories based off of Tower of Dawn, because I have been talking about my theories overall for Kingdom of Ash, but I am going to add just a few of those in the end that I think are kind of important. So the 3 word stones were for the 3 kings. What if 3 other royals that are very powerful could control the 3 sections of the word keys and open up the gate without anyone having to die? Because obviously in the last book we have that section where we realize that the gods had been lying about something, or someone had been lying about something, because when Damaris is, like, touched, they can sense the lie. It can sense the lie. And what if it's that? What if that no one actually has to die? Like, what if Dorian, Manon, and Aelin, all very powerful rulers, can control sections of the Wyrdgate and then open it up to send all the Valg back? Like, that would be A1. I also, another theory about the word gates, when the Karanqui are talking about the word gates that they are guarding, they say, and I quote, "A door that could open or close at random, or if one knew the right words." What are the right words? So when I saw that, I was just kind of like stuck for a minute, because I didn't remember that at all. Like, or the right words. What if there's a right word to opening up the, like, rifts between the worlds? Like, what is the right word? Who knows the right words? Also, how do you know that the right words can open up the gates? I'm just like, literally my mind was boggled, because I just don't think that someone's gonna have to die to send everyone back. My biggest fear is that, which isn't, like, the worst fear, but my biggest fear is that in, like, opening up the word gate and sending the Valg back, it takes a piece of all their life forces, so Manon's, Dorian's, and Aelin's. While Aelin and Dorian probably would lose their magic, is my theory, Manon would lose her immortality, and I'm actually really scared for that, because I just want them to be all powerful and amazing, and I just don't want them to lose their magic. I feel like that's almost as bad as dying, so yeah, that was another theory that I have that I'm kind of scared about. And also, one more theory about the Karanqui. are talking about how they've been guarding this gate, and they say, and so we will until she summons us to her side once more. And that kind of makes me curious if Maeve will summon all the spiders to her once more. I think that once the situation gets dire enough, she probably will. Why wouldn't she? But I feel like it would take a really long time for the spiders, unless they know the words to the gates and they're able to slip through a gate to meet up with Maeve. Whew. I feel like that's gonna be a whole other issue. Just on the topic of rucks, because we get a lot of just concern that the rucks are smaller than the wyverns. The rucks are like less powerful than the wyverns, but we get a lot of like hints that I don't think it's gonna be that way. So the first one was, I think the rucks can outfly the wyverns any day of the week, like actually any day of the week, because when we see Sartaq and Nesryn actually traveling out to the Ruckin, he says how Kadara never tires. Like, she doesn't get tired at all. They only ever have to stop because the warrior on Kadara's back gets tired and they have to sleep. And we hear a lot that the wyverns do get tired, that even though they train and everything, all the heavy armor, all the heavy, like, in general, they're very heavy, they get tired after a long time. So it just makes me wonder if the ruck will in general outfly the wyverns. I think they will, because like rucks are natural, wyverns were technically made. And then Nesryn's aunt actually says, just at random kind of, like she was just talking to Nesryn about the rucks and everything, or about Sartaq, and then at the very end of the chapter she says, the rucks will not fear wyverns. Like out of nowhere. And I feel like that's just like a little Easter egg for us from Sarah J Maas, like that the wyverns have something to fear from the rucks because the rucks aren't gonna be scared of them. And then a whole bunch of theories on the whole nameless thing, the nameless is my price. So obviously we've had a lead say that she's no one and nothing. We've had, which also made me very nervous, we obviously have had Aelin say it. And, oh, which reminds me, I want to read this here because I noticed it when I was reading Assassin's Blade like all those months ago. So it's actually when Selena accidentally meets Dorian in The Assassin in the Underworld. They don't know that they just met, but he asks her, what's your name? She leaned close. My name is Wind, she whispered, and rain and bone and dust. My name is a snippet of a half-remembered song. I have no name, she purred. I am whoever the keepers of my fate tell me to be. So I am definitely nervous that a lead is gonna have something to do with Aelin's fate in the end. I just think that there was too many similarities between their like captures. Lead's mom was the one that saved Aelin and took her to safety. Lead and Aelin were both about to be put into iron like sarcophagi to be taken away. Obviously Lead didn't, but Aelin did. And I just think that there's a lot of similarities between them, and I'm kind of like confused as to how that's gonna work out. I did sort of talk about that in my last book talk though, so not really a new theory. I do also still really think that Kaltain is not dead. I don't know why I think that, but I definitely believe that Kaltain is not dead. She's gonna appear in the last book. She's gonna help out. And I think it's gonna be very interesting to see like 3 different sorts of light magic, like fire magic, because Yreen's magic is very light and explosive, and like it's why the Valg don't like it, and they don't like Selena's because it's also, or Selena's, they don't like Aelin's because it's also fire, and if Kaltain shows up and it's shadow fire, it's like these 3 different versions of fire, and they're all gonna just beat up the Valg. So I really want Kaltain to be alive. I also kind of have like a mini theory that Maeve's pet owl is Athril himself. I don't know why I think that. I know that, I just don't remember really hearing about Athril's death. I might be totally blanking on it. And it might be weird to think that he could have ever lived that long, but if anyone could have done it, I feel like Maeve could have made Athril live that long, but I don't know how she would have chained him to her to like do her bidding, or if every healer just turns into an owl and that's why an owl is always next to her, and you know, that such. So let's kind of think about who I think is gonna die. I think someone is gonna die. I think that important players definitely will die, just because I don't really want Sarah J Maas to do what she did with the Court of Wings and Ruin. I just think it's unrealistic, especially for a war. And in Kingdom of Ash, okay, so I think that maybe Yreen and Chaol will die because they're tied together. So it's like if they die, at least the one won't have to live without the other. I think, who else do I think will die? I think that one of the royal children will die, whether it's Hussar or Kashin or Sartaq. I am kind of really nervous that Sartaq will die, just because I think it will totally kill Nesryn, but it's a possibility. I just also, I just don't really think he'll die because he is the heir now to the Kagan, and that's just gonna like bring a whole other problem. Like, who's now the new heir? That's gonna be annoying. I don't think that any of the royals will have any foul play in his death though, so there's that. Unless it's Argon, because he is just spoiled rotten. I don't like him. Okay, so from our babies, from the ones that we love. So I think I think maybe one of the 13 will die. I'm really hoping it's not Astrid, but like it could definitely be Astrid. It's not like she has really anyone else. If she doesn't die, I kind of hope that she ends up with Kashin. I feel like they'd make a good pair. I don't know why. I really don't think that our main players will die. I don't think Manon, Aelin, Rowan, Lysandra will die. Those are the only ones I'm sure won't die. Dorian could die, and I would be very sad, but like he definitely could. I don't like this. I don't like trying to decide. I swear, if any of like the Rucks, if Kadara is hurt, if any of them, if any of the Rucks, or if Abraxos is hurt, that's it. I am putting the book down. I draw the line at like animals getting hurt, so that's gonna be really frustrating because I'm sure they will. But my biggest theory is that one, that like if Manon, Aelin, and Dorian are able to use the word keys to open up the gate, that it's gonna sap a part of their life force. But if they're able to use the word keys to open up a word gate, then they wouldn't need the lock, because it's the lock that saps their life force. Oh, because that's what combines the keys. But why would you need to combine the keys if you have 3 royals that can handle them? Oh, my theory just got more interesting because I totally forgot about that. I forgot that the only reason the lock is around is to combine the keys to make the word gate. But if you, ooh. Oh, my theory about, I've talked about this in my last video, but I definitely want to add that here, that I'm pretty sure Lorcan knows where Aelin is being kept. He has a line in Empire of Storms where he's basically just, his mind goes adrift, where he's like looking at these barges of the river and he's like, oh, I once knew a mountain, or oh god, what was it? He'd seen a kingdom perhaps 300 years ago that relied on barges to sail its goods from one end to another. Its name eluded him, lost to the catacombs of his memory. Lorcan wondered if it still existed, tucked away between 2 mountain ranges on the other side of the world. Obviously, that would be like the perfect place to keep Aelin. Like, she is surrounded by water, she's in mountains, nothing can burn there. Like, that would be the perfect place to keep Aelin, and Lorcan is obviously on the journey to go and find her. I do think that it's gonna be a really long time until they find Aelin. I don't think she will break. That is my like #1 thought. I think that once she is found, I don't think it's gonna be for a while. I think like maybe at least half of the book is gonna be without her, which is gonna be really difficult. And it's gonna be right when everything seems to fall apart that they're able to bring Aelin back. And I am kind of like still going back and forth on whether I think the battle against Maeve is gonna be right then and there, like when they free Aelin, if that's gonna be the moment that Maeve gets like her ass handed to her. I don't think it will. I think that Maeve is gonna get put back into the word gate with the 3 kings. So that'll be interesting. And I think that, I don't know how, but I feel like the blood oath will be broken with the twins and Maeve. And he's definitely gonna just kind of somehow aid Aelin in her recovery, or like maybe while she's being tortured and Rowan's still looking for her, I think he's gonna be able to, what's his name? I don't know, the pretty twin. I think he's gonna be able to, the pretty twin, they're both pretty. The twin that was with them in Empire of Storms, I think is gonna be able to help Aelin. And that's why she's not gonna break completely. I've heard like some people saying that they think that there's gonna be a moment where where Aelin gets to see Sam and Nehemia again. I'm not so sure about that. I don't know if ghosts are gonna play a huge role in this, but it would be interesting if they did, similarly to how Elena helped Selena in Throne of Glass when she's getting her like ass handed to her by Cain. I think that it would be interesting if like ghosts suddenly came out on the battlefield, sort of like Lord of the Rings style, if you know what I mean. I just don't really know if it's 100% realistic. And I don't even think it would be helpful for Aelin to have to see her past then that way, because she's already let it go. So, all right, that's it. That's all my thoughts. That's a million thoughts. I'm sorry this video is going up super late because I know that it's actually gonna be going up at like midnight my time zone, and that means probably like 3 AM for a lot of you guys. But yeah, I really wanted to get this up. I'm so excited for Kingdom of Ash. I can't wait to see what Sarah J Maas does with the ending of this book. Yeah. I make videos Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays most of the time, and I will see you in my next one. Also, probably, I'm gonna be vlogging my Kingdom of Ash reaction, the entire thing, so look forward to that and all the tears. Okay, bye!